Hello everyone, welcome to the channel and welcome to the farm. It is that time of year, mow. Seems like this time of year I spend the majority of my life sitting on a lawnmower. I made an upgrade last year in my mowing life and I'd like to share that experience with you guys. Give you a little bit of info, a little review of the mower, some critiques of the mower, some good things that I have found on the mower, and I'm going to wait to the very end, but I've also had a few little minor maintenance issues, mechanical issues that I'd like to share with you also. So stick with me during the film and hope to see you at the end. So this is a Stihl 752i. This is a newer mower on the market, but not a newer chassis on the market. This mower is it's a product of a partnership between Ferris and Stihl. Ferris makes the chassis, Stihl slaps their name on it. This was confirmed by the dealer, multiple people that I spoke with, and one of the higher ups at Stihl that I spoke with after purchasing this. They've been making these for a couple years, or at least Stihl's been throwing their name on it for a couple years. I bought this last year in 24. This is a 23 model. So this is a 752i again. It's a basically a breakdown of that is it's the 700 series, which is the upper. I think the only level above it is the 900 series. So it's a commercial grade mower. It's got a 52-inch cut, and the I is the fuel injected Briggs and Stratton 28 horse motor on it. I'm not really going to talk about specs on the mower. That information can be found on the website pretty easily, and it could be regurgitated by them a lot better than it could be talked about by me. We're going to do a real quick walk around, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about why I chose to buy this mower and some of the critiques and some of the positives. So let's do a real quick walk around. But once again, most of this information can be found on their website. It's not new information, and it's pretty standard to most mowers. So let's do a real quick walk around. Seat lifts, there's an adjustment knob here. It's got a seat belt. This is the 752i. There's a pan, your foot pan here lifts up to give you access to the belts. There's not a power washer attachment for the belly pan, but it's not a deal breaker for me. I have another mower that has that. I don't really think it does that good a job. To each their own on that one. It's got front headlights, I guess for your midnight mowers. If you haven't made your neighbor mad enough, go out and mow at 1 in the morning. I added some shackles for assistance with tie down for whenever I'm hauling it. It's got dual fuel tanks, one on this side and the other, 5.5 gallons a piece. I think it's got 11 gallon capacity. Let's walk around the other side. So front shocks, definitely one of the main reasons that I bought this machine. Where I mow out here typically, it is brutal bumpy, and it definitely helps. It's got front and back shocks. So one of the big differences between the 500 series and the 700 series is the material that the shocks are made out of. The 500 series has aluminum shocks. The 700 series has cast iron shocks. So that's one reason I kind of upgraded from the 500, chose it versus the 500 series, because the longevity of a cast iron shock I just had a little bit more faith in, and the durability. Pretty standard height adjustments. It's got a huge output for the chute, and then it's kind of got a little bit of a bolt sticking out here where you can lift that up. It's got a pretty heavy duty rubber chute protector. Up here on the mower, you've got fuel gauges for each side, your throttle, your blade engagement, headlights, hour meter. So factory, it came with these tires here, Turf Masters, Carlisle's, pretty good tires. Rear shocks, rear bumper. I added a ball for the back. I don't pull anything heavy, but I have a roller for rolling yards that I occasionally will pull. It's
It's got this model has the rollover. I've got them put down because I don't ever get myself in a situation on the side of a hill. Just don't do it. And I have found that thing actually clips limbs and low-lying things, and I've clipped a few times, so I've tore up some trees so I can just keep it down. But that's about it. Walk around, and it also has a couple USB outlets, and then on your Vanguard oil system, there's your oil tank.
Probably should have prefaced with this at the very beginning, but I am not sponsored by Stihl. I paid for this Stihl mower with my own money. I have not been given a dime or given anything to make this video. This video is being made just because I wanted to share some information, not because I'm being paid to share anything or given anything to share information. I'm about to go mow, but I needed to sharpen the blades. They were needing it pretty bad, so I just wanted to film how I typically do it. I find this mower sits pretty low to the ground. It's kind of difficult to get underneath, and this is the safest and easiest way that I have found to get the blades off so I can sharpen them and put them back on. I guess the other thing that I should probably disclose is that I do not mow professionally. I used to. I don't anymore. But I do mow a lot of grass. I mow my own. I mow out at the farm. I mow some family members. So I do spend a lot of time on mowers and have spent a lot of time on mowers throughout my life. I kind of feel like this is the exact situation, too, that a lot of people are in. Do a lot of mowing, so that's another reason why I wanted to share this video, make this video for everybody.
I'm experimenting with a new strap down system. I added some shackles to the front of the mower, bought some new straps. The other ones I wore out pretty quick. They're a little bit lighter. This is a little bit heavier strap. If I don't have to go very far, I just have an axle strap that goes over the ball. If I go a long distance or I'm getting out on a highway that's got have to get up to speed, or 55, 60 miles an hour, I'll put two, and I'll strap here and then strap one down there. But this worked pretty good. Just drove out, and let's get to mowing.
Why did I choose this brand and model versus some of the other mowers on the market? Well, there were probably quite a few variables that I had in mind. Number one being durability. We have a couple other zero turns and have had, but they were, I guess, what you would call more of the residential lightweight versions. They were not as heavy duty, not as good of quality, lesser brands, and we just went through them, wore them out real easy. We never abuse our equipment, but we just use our equipment. And if you don't buy something fairly good quality, fairly heavy duty, you start to see the side effects pretty quick. And we wanted one that would last. I don't know what this thing will last me, but I feel like if I took care of this thing, do proper maintenance and not beat it up, this thing ought to last 5, 8, 10 years easily, maybe more. Kind of like to hear everybody's comments about that, what they think. But durability definitely being the first. I knew that this was a Ferris chassis, the Stihl name. There was a local dealer that had these. There's some other local dealers of other mowers, but this one was close by where I bought this, and just kind of decided to do some research. I have a friend that does mow professionally, and he's got all Ferris mowers, and he loves them. He swears by them. A lot of that type of stuff. What mower you prefer, I feel like, is debatable. It's kind of like, having an argument of Dodge versus Chevy versus GMC versus whatever. It's just to each their own. But he's had good luck with Ferris, so that kind of said a lot for me. So not just taking his word for it, I did my own research on it, and there were quite a few things that I found on this one things that were enticing to me, besides the durability, were probably obviously the number one thing would be price. They had a pretty decent price compared to other models of similar models. Actually looking now, so I bought this last year and it was the previous year's model, but I looked at the website about a week ago, and this exact model is actually a couple $1,000s cheaper this year than it was when I bought it. So they've actually come down in price. They were running a good deal. They had a rebate offer and 0% financing, which was obviously pretty enticing compared to some of the other offers from other manufacturers. We talked earlier about how rough some of the areas I mow are. I wanted a Ferris chassis. These things have suspension on them. A lot of the other older models of Ferris have them also. I heard good things. So that was one of the things that it was influencing me. This mower has the Vanguard system on Briggs & Stratton, which they promote as one of the top models that they boast, and you could go about 500 hours in between oil changes supposedly with this, so that's yet to be seen. Even after my first year, I didn't have near that many hours, so we'll see how that goes. Another one of the things that this engine promoted was it's a fuel injected engine, and they were saying that it was way more fuel efficient than some of the carbureted models. That's a bit of an argument. I have yet to see that to be seen. Actually, we'll talk about this later more towards the end of the videos on some of my critiques on some of the mechanical and maintenance issues I've had. But it definitely was not fuel efficient, but there's maybe a possible reason, and we'll talk about that later. So there's quite a few factors, once again, that influence me, but also one being, at some point you're always going to have maintenance done on these, no matter what. So what's the quality, or so where I'm at, it's pretty remote. How far away am I going to have to go to get this thing worked on? What's the quality of the mechanics? Things along those lines is definitely an influence. I think there's something that everybody should think about is where do you have to go to get these things worked on, and the location that you go to. How's their customer service? What's their turnaround going to be like? Those are questions I asked and talked to the dealership about before I made the purchase also. So definitely one of the top reasons or top things that we were looking for in a mower is the cutting capacity. And I don't necessarily mean the width, but the ability to cut thick, heavy grass. We mow a lot of barn lots. I mow a lot of fence rows. And this fescue, anybody that has fescue fields or deal with this type of grass, when it gets thick and when it gets tall, it is almost impossible to cut. It'll really bog down a mower pretty easily, even a powerful mower. I've seen it. You're running a brush cutter, a bush hog, whatever you want to call it. You get in some thick stuff, man, and it will bog the mower down. So one of the previous zero turns that we had actually cut pretty good, but its output actually limited the capacity that this mower would cut. It would cut the grass, but it couldn't get rid of it fast enough, and it had a very small chute, and the grass would start to accumulate. It would catch. There was kind of a bad metal design on some of the sheet metal, And as fast as these things cut and as thick as you're cutting it, as much material as you're moving, you would go from cutting good to basically bogging down within a couple seconds. Basically would kill the mower. You'd have to stop, shut the blades down, pull just massive wads of grass out. And it would cut it. It was just all due to the size of the chute. So this mower here has an extremely large output, and you can push a lot of grass, and it will throw. It's almost a downside if you're mowing with any type of breeze. It will throw a lot of grass, stir up a lot of grass. If it's dust or dirty, it will throw a tremendous amount of dust into the air. So that's kind of a benefit and a downside. I'll show you here in just a second, but so this grass here, I kind of just to make this video, I let it grow a little thicker than what I typically would, just to kind of prove a point that it'll mow some pretty good stuff, pretty thick stuff, pretty good. But it will throw a ton of grass. So if you're one of those people that don't like to have grass clippings, I don't know that there's a bag system for this, but I'll mow an area just twice. This thing mows fast, but I'll mow an area twice just to kind of remulch some of the grass clippings. So that goes kind of right into another topic on why I chose this mower, because it does a pretty good job. I don't mow professionally, but I have a lot that I need to mow, and it's become a time issue. I just don't have a lot of time to do it, and with some of my other cheaper zero turns and just a standard riding mower, I would be spending all day, maybe 2 days, day and a half, 2 days to mow what I needed to do. With this mower, I can mow everything pretty much that I need to do in 1 day, easily. Plus, I have a ton of weed eating to do also. So time was definitely a factor in upgrading to a heavier, more commercial grade mower with a better capacity. One of the guys at the dealership was bragging about how fast this mower will run. I don't really care about that. I do want it to be able to mow a tremendous amount of grass quickly, but I'm not running this thing. When I mow, I'm not running this thing at 100% how fast it'll go. I'm probably only running it at about a third of its speed capability. I'm wanting to do a good job. I'm not wanting to just run over it to where it looks like all you did was just run a bush hog over it. I do want it to look good. I just need to get done with it in a decent amount of time. So there are areas that did not cut great, did not cut 100%. You can see that. But as thick as that stuff is, and it rained yesterday, it actually did a really good job. If you're a person that doesn't really care, you could just let this be. I like to clean it up, so I'll end up mowing this twice. But if I had my riding lawnmower, first off, I wouldn't even be able to cut this at all. You'd have to be going so slow and it'd be bogging down the entire time. And our other zero turn, same kind of concept. It would mow it, but the output chute is so restricted that you have to stop every once in a while and clean it out. It's strong enough to cut the grass, but it just bogs down because you can't get rid of the grass. So I'm gonna clean this up and see how it looks after we do that. Pretty sure I could sit here and ramble on about a few other things, but all in all, quite a few positives. I think everything that I have discussed with you there has been positives so far, some yet to be seen. The fuel efficiency thing we'll discuss towards the end whenever I talk about some of the mechanical issues that I've had. It'll kind of better describe why that's kind of yet to be seen. But some critiques. Let's think. Not a whole lot, honestly. A few things, but they're not like deal breakers. The main thing about my first critique is just that I have never owned one of these commercial grade mowers. Every one of the ones, so I've owned quite a few regular ride mowers and a couple lesser residential homeowners version zero turns, and those are light, and you can basically take them about wherever you want. Well, this mower is heavy. It is very heavy. And honestly, I haven't looked at the weight of some of the other light models and manufacturers from other different companies and how much those weigh. I just know that this thing is heavy. It's heavier than I'm used to, and you've got to be very careful where you're mowing with it, particularly in the spring. Where we live, we get quite a bit of rain in the spring and early summer, and it is heavy. It will sink. It will get stuck very easily, and you got to be pretty careful. I don't, like I was saying earlier, I don't take it on a lot of inclines, so that's not necessarily my issue. But when you are turning this mower and you're in like some kind of wet areas or areas that have been wet, you can kind of tear up the grass pretty easy. And it wasn't that way with some of the lighter models that I'm used to. This mower is very powerful, and even with it being heavy, you can cut a rut pretty easy turning around too fast and too aggressive. I don't know if it's because of the specific tires that are on this that came with it. I actually would really love to hear from you, some of you guys that run big heavy mowers, and I've seen all kinds of different tires on different zero turns, from those wide, very thin, they almost look like plastic, but they're not like a rubber inflated pneumatic tire. They're just a hard, big, thin tire. I've seen some mowers have almost like a mud tire looking thing with a lot of tread, heavy grip. I don't know if that would be a better tire. I'm just really curious to hear opinions on possible upgrades on tires for these. Get a little bit better grip. I'm not looking to try to go mudding in this thing. I just, more than anything, I have noticed that it spins very easy, and once again, you got to be very careful about how aggressive you are whenever you're turning around. So those are kind of just basically two of the only critiques that I have. How heavy this thing is, you got to be real careful, and the tires, and then the fuel efficiency thing, which is kind of yet to be seen, and we'll discuss that here in just a minute. Though I've been a bit chatty, but to properly explain most of the mechanical issues that I've had, we're going to probably have to be a little bit even more chatty. So stick with me through that to the end. And I apologize for the sound at the beginning of this because I was recording while I was driving and it was raining. So I'm competing with a little bit of rain noise in the background, but it gets better. So thanks for listening. So let's talk about some issues that I've had with the mower. I don't think that you would call them maintenance issues, maybe mechanical issues nonetheless. Nothing major, but I feel like I should tell you about them just to be 100% transparent and about some of the stuff that I've had to deal with. So I bought this mower a little over a year ago, mid-March, early spring. And the place I bought it from, it had been, so in mid-March here, it's still pretty cool. And the place I bought it from had the mowers out on a deck outside, and it became apparent pretty quickly that they had been outside all winter long. The mower doesn't really need to be winterized, but it had been outside. It was cold, hadn't been run all winter. Batteries hadn't been charged, and it was the only one of that model that I wanted that they had. So they couldn't get it started, and the more that they worked in getting this thing started, it drained the battery pretty quickly. They put a new battery in it, still couldn't get it started. They didn't really have anybody there. They were, I don't want to talk bad about the dealership, but they were a little bit unprepared. I don't think they were ready to sell a lawnmower the day I showed up. They needed to get another battery because the battery they had been sitting out all winter. So they finally got another battery. They called somebody for some advice on how to get it started. Once again, this is a EFI engine, and I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm an expert on them, but the guy, they called somebody and said that they think they had it vapor locked. I think they pulled the plugs, turned it over for a little while, put the plugs back in, and they eventually did get it running. When it did run, I wasn't terribly impressed with how it was running. It was running pretty rough. Didn't idle real good, but if you took it all the way up to 100%, it seemed to level out. So, long story short, on this aspect of the issues, something I have noticed with this mower is that in the cold, it does not start well. It easily does whatever it did, vapor locks. When you first turn the key on, you can hear the fuel pump kick on. Kind of has like a little buzz, and then once it stops, so whenever I start it, I will just turn the key on, wait for the fuel pump to stop, and then I'll turn it over, and it usually fires right off. But if you don't, or if it don't, I'd highly recommend not turning this thing over for very long. So if it takes more than just a few seconds to start and it hasn't started yet, just stop and then try again. Short bursts. If you turn this thing over for very long, just cranking it because it won't crank or won't start, you're gonna cause whatever this happens. And maybe some of you guys that have had more experience with fuel injected systems can comment on what you think it was, but you know, I wouldn't think that you could flood a fuel injected engine, but obviously you can. But I think it's called something else. I'll let you guys out there in YouTube land fill the comment section with that, whatever you think. Anyway, so finally got it to the house and mowed good all summer. It never idles good, and but it mows good at 100%. Didn't have any problems with it all summer long. I don't, like, once again, I think I discussed at the beginning of the video, but I do not mow yards for a living. I just mow a lot of yards, if that makes sense. And that's why I needed this mower to begin with. But I put quite a few hours on it, sharpened the blades just a couple times, just because I'm picky about having nice blades, good blades on it. But towards the end of the season, I noticed I parked it where I always keep it, inside a garage, flat, nice concrete, level, and I started noticing oil residue on the concrete. After I would start to use it for the next day, there was oil left from where it would sit. So I'd mow with it, I'd park it, it'd be parked for maybe a couple days or a week or whatever, use it again. When I pull it out, there would be oil on the concrete. So I started kind of keeping track of it. I would lay cardboard underneath there, catch it on the cardboard, kind of keep track of what it was doing. I was taking photos of it with my phone, keeping track of the day, how many hours I'd ran in between. And there was only a couple of weeks left in the season that I knew that I was going to mow, so I didn't really want to take it to, I thought, if, you know, it wasn't a lot. It was a very small amount of oil. Like, you know, maybe 10, 15, 20 drops, you know, that would equal, I don't know, 2 to 3 inch diameter circumference on a piece of cardboard. But nothing more than that. So I thought, well, I can make it to the end of the season. I'll take it into the shop in the off season. They can look at it. That way I don't have to be down a mower and have to worry about using either a smaller mower or something else. Anyway, so I think it was probably November by the time that I actually did get this thing into the shop. At this point, from the time that I purchased it in March, it's November, it's, you know, 8 months. So I've got a 3-year warranty, factory warranty that came on this thing. So we're well within a warranty, we're well within hours. I barely put a dent on the hours at all. And I get it down to the shop. Once again, I don't want to talk bad about the dealership, but they basically, the first time I took it down there, they were like, well, we don't even find a leak. We can't even find a leak. And I was like, all right, man. It's just that typical, like, there's so many people probably out there that have these same experiences as me. You identify a problem, you're the homeowner, you're the end user, you use a product all the time, you see it day in, day out, you take it down to some place, whether it's your car or truck or your lawnmower or whatever it might be, and they're like, well, we can't replicate whatever your complaint is. So I told him, I said, well, or I asked him, I said, what are you guys doing? He's like, well, you know, we parked it and we can't find any oil. And I said, well, run it. Like, so this is happening after I run it for 3-4, you know, hours. And they were like, oh, okay, well, we'll try that. And I'm like, well, they did. So they obviously hadn't tried anything at all. They just parked it and was hoping that it was going to leak, which, you know, once again, it was a small leak, so it's not going to produce a lot. So they're going to have to put a little bit of pressure on the engine for wherever the leak's coming from. It's oil. It's black. And for what it's worth, it was pitch black. And when you check the oil's new. It's not even broke in yet. Like, it looks like brand new oil right out of a container. I mean, it's clean, it's clear, it's fresh. But the oil that I'm finding on the concrete is black, like dark black. So it doesn't really make sense to me. Anyway, they had this thing down there for weeks. I think it was January probably, and I was trying to be nice, and I was calling down there and like, hey, you know, what's progress? Oh, you know, well, we really haven't noticed it, or we really can't find it. Well, the underside of these mowers is pretty tight. Everything in there is real tight. It's hard to get to. There's like a cross member kind of in your way, the cross member support strut in your way. Anyway, they finally said, well, we think it's coming from, we identified a leak, and we think it's coming from some kind of plug. It's like, all right, so what are we gonna do? Said, well, we're gonna order a new plug. So they ordered a plug, and they get it in, it's the wrong one. So I guess these mowers are pretty new still within the system of Stihl, and you know, the chassis is a Ferris. So they're having trouble locating this part, whether they even had the part, having trouble with the manufacturer, having trouble with Stihl. It's a Briggs mower. They finally had to go to Briggs. Stihl had to go to Briggs. So they were going through Stihl. Stihl went through Briggs, and they finally got a part. They got it supposedly replaced, and they said the oil leak's fixed. It's like, okay, so this is like end of January, maybe the beginning of February by this time. They've had it a while. They've had it all winter. And one of the main guys, mechanics, called me, and he said, hey man, I noticed this thing runs rough. I was like, yeah, it's been running rough the entire time I've had it. And so we sit there and talked, and basically what they had told me when I bought this thing is that, oh, well, these fuel injected motors are always trying to find their happy spot, the electronics and stuff, and they just have a tendency of running rough when you're idling. So I told that to this guy, repeated exactly what they said, and he's like, well, they shouldn't run that rough. He's like, this is more than what it should. He's like, do you care if I keep it down here so this engine you can plug into your laptop if you're one of the mechanics and they've got a software system that they can basically watch what's going on with the engine. It's got one of those plugs, smart plug. And he said, can I keep it and check it out for a few days? I said, sure. As long as it's like under warranty and whatever you're doing is under warranty, it's fine. And if you do something that's not under warranty, you know, contact me before you do it. I said, yeah, I'll take care of it. So he calls me back in a couple days. He's like, yeah, dude. He's like, you got problems with both your spark plugs and your O2 sensor in the exhaust system is bad. He said, so basically the O2 sensor is not reading correctly, and then the computer doesn't know this, so it's really surging, trying to find its happy spot. And by the way, one of your spark plugs is not gapped correctly, and the other spark plug is basically completely smashed. So I can't believe it's running at all, and I'm surprised it's just not running on one cylinder. I was like, great. And I'm like, well, you know, I had noticed, one of the things that I had noticed, like I was saying that it ran good all summer, but one of the things I had noticed was they told me that this EFI engine was supposed to be fuel efficient, better on fuel. Well, it was not. This thing sucked the gas big time, and wasn't really happy with it. But I thought, well, I don't really know because I don't have anything to compare it to really. This is a 28 horse. I think the other one that we have is like a 22 or 23, and it definitely got worse fuel mileage than that, but a little bit bigger engine. It's going to. He said this should help. So okay, so I go down to get it and started it up. Absolutely, man, this thing idled smooth. And one of the other things that I noticed, I'm backtracking a little bit because I kind of got ahead of myself. When I first got this thing and I got it home, and you idle it up to 100% and you pull the PTO to engage the blades, I wouldn't say that it would bog the engine down almost like it was going to die, but I mean, it felt like it would bring it down to like 60-70%. Like it put a strain on the engine more than what I thought it should. Once again, not really knowing or having anything to compare it to, I thought, well, maybe this is the way this mower is, and I just went with it. Well, after he did this tuning on it, he replaced the spark plugs, replaced the O2 sensor. When you're at 100% and you pulled that PTO to engage the blades, it didn't even phase it a bit. So I thought, heck yeah, he's helped this thing out. It's going to run better, it's going to run stronger, and it's going to get better fuel efficiency. So I took it home, I parked it. It was probably mid-February and didn't need to use it yet. So I got it out like March 1st. So it didn't sit there for about 2 weeks. I think I got it out like March 1st just to start it, let it run, do a few things with it just to test it. And I noticed there was oil on the concrete, and they told me they fixed the leak. So I thought, well, crap, they didn't fix the leak. So called them back, said, hey, this thing's still dripping oil, and they're like, bring it back. So that's what I did, took it back down there, and they had it for a couple weeks. Try not to get aggravated with them, but you know, I took this thing down there in the off season to get this thing worked on, so I didn't have to worry about it. So come spring, when grass started growing, I was good to go. So they had it for a couple more weeks. I took this thing down once again and was trying not to get aggravated with them, but nothing was happening. And they were like, well, we're not seeing any leaks. Once again, they're telling me that it's not leaking. I was like, dude, I took a picture of the concrete again, took a picture of the cardboard again. It's definitely leaking. I was like, keep it, pay more attention, look into it. It's leaking. So I'm starting to detect that whoever this mechanic is, and he was a nice guy, and don't get me wrong, I never once got beef out of these guys. They had good customer service, but it was almost like they just didn't either have experience with this particular mower, or I don't know, man, they just didn't act like they knew what they were doing or was interested in knowing what they were doing. Like they were putting it off. So the guy finally calls me back and he's like, well, I'm gonna have to take this thing apart. And he acted like he didn't want to do it. And I was like, well, man, listen, oil leaks only do one thing, and that is get worse. They never fix themselves, they never get better. they only get worse. So I want you to work on this thing while I have warranty on it, while this thing is still a pretty minor leak. And I don't want to be out there mowing with this thing at 100% and like, you know, you're not stopping and getting underneath the mower every 10 minutes to check this thing, checking the oil. I don't want something to rupture while I'm running, dump oil all over the ground, me not knowing it, lock up, and then I'm got a completely torched mower. Like, fix this thing, man. It's been down there all winter. You guys have had it for months and it's still not fixed. So he's like, well, I'm gonna have to take some things apart and to look into it better. I'm like, dude, do what you got to do, man. Literally, like, I'm really having to push these guys. So they said they took some stuff apart, power washed it, and he calls me back and he's like, well, what we think happened is that the previous oil leak had dripped down into some kind of part of a pulley clutch type that had like a cup, so the oil was actually sitting in there. So there was still oil residue, so they obviously were admitting that they had not properly cleaned it from the first oil leak research, and that he was saying there was just still excess oil from the previous leak, and it was leaking all over the place. So I'm like, all right, so what do we got going on here? And he's like, basically, you know, we're gonna clean it up and you can come down here and get it. So he called me like the next day. He said, hey, this thing's cleaned up, it's good to go, come get it. I was like, and I talked to him, I said, it's 100%. He said, yeah, it's 100%, we're good to go. Okay. So I get this thing, I get down there, I pick it up, I bring it home, and I go straight to a mow job. And I pulled this thing off the trailer, because its grass is growing by this time. It's like mid-March. And mid to late March, grass is growing. And took it straight to a mow job, unload it, let it warm up, checking for oil leaks, nothing there. So I go to start the blades, 100%, start the blades, and all it did was squeal. And I've got a video, I'm going to insert a video clip, because I took a video of this, of what was happening. And anyway, mower didn't work. Told me it was 100%. They lied to me, and my thermostat kind of redlined. I was getting pretty tired of these guys. They weren't doing a very good job of communicating. They didn't act like they were wanting to work and fix this thing, and then they told me it was 100%, and it obviously wasn't. This is a completely different complaint at this point. I never had a problem with the blades not working, but when I engaged the blades, it just squealed and wouldn't run. The blades wouldn't run. The motor seemed like it was fine. It was just the blades. So I'm thinking, well, the guy told me that there was oil collected on like a clutch mechanism of some kind. So I'm thinking, well, maybe this thing is coated in oil and it is just not, it's not grabbing and it's just spinning. There's not enough friction on it, and they didn't clean it, or they did something wrong. So I immediately got on the horn and I called this guy, and I'm like, dude, I was a little curt with him, but I was like, man, you lied to me. You told me this thing was 100%. You told me you ran it. You ran the blades. You said it was good to go. It is not. So he was nice as he could be, and he's like, well, okay, I'm going to send somebody out to you where you're at. You're going to send somebody directly out to where I was located. So the guy came out and started digging into it, and he found that the belt was off. So once again, like, that even made me madder. I'm like, well, I could have fixed the belt, but if he told me that it was 100%, 110%, and that he had run it, the belt wasn't on, and he didn't run it. So now, like, they're definitely lying to me. I was getting angry, and I was just in a bad mood that day. Didn't go over well. So he got the belt back on, and it ran. And I was like, okay, I just want these guys to leave. I don't really want anything to do. I was really getting kind of short-tempered with these guys, even though all this stuff is minor. You guys are gonna watch this and be like, dude, what are you complaining about? This is all minor stuff. It was just aggravating, and I was getting ready to need to start mowing. I was actually about a week behind. So I mowed twice, I think, and I kind of like checked out and wasn't paying attention. And I looked down, I think the second time after I got done when I was mowing, and the hour meter wasn't working. It was completely blank, like it was off. Like, what the heck? So I know a lot of hour meters on like tractors and some tractor trailer trucks and dump trucks, stuff like that, diesels, they run off of like an oil pressure switch. So when you start the engine, develops oil pressure, the hour meter will start running because it knows the engine is running. So I thought, I don't know if that's how this one works, but you know, we've been having problems with oil, so I thought, why is the hour meter not working? And does it have something to do with what they were doing previously in the year on the oil leak? So I got on the horn again. I called these guys, and they're like, no, we think it just has to do with the key switch. And at this point, it's not that I don't have any faith, but man, I'm having trouble. These guys probably want to quit dealing with me, and I want to quit dealing with them. And they wouldn't call me back. It was really half-assed service. The service started getting really poor. It had this mower all winter. Now the hour meter won't work. And you know, like, okay, so the hour meter doesn't work. Seems kind of petty, but this thing's under warranty. So I don't really want to mess with some stuff, like the homeowner messing with some of this stuff that's under warranty, because then I want to void some warranty. Not real sure how touchy Stihl is about it. So I did a little bit of research, and most of what I found was that the hour meter should be based on the switch, not oil pressure switch, like the ignition switch, not the oil pressure switch. And I didn't really want to take this thing down to the dealership that I had been dealing with. So I knew of another dealership that sells these, which they're kind of few and far between that sell these mowers. Not every Stihl place that sells chainsaws sells these mowers or weed eaters. So I went and talked with another dealership. Basically went in and said, hey, I know I didn't buy this mower from you, but would you guys be willing to work on this mower if I needed work done? The guy was cool as hell. He basically said, if it says Stihl on it and you bring it in here, we'll work on it. It's like, okay. So I don't really want to go too deep. There's a little bit more to this story, but I don't really want to go too deep in the woods about it. But they replaced they said that the hour meter was bad. So this hour meter has a dual purpose meter on it. When you are just running the mower, and actually it should be on all the time, or at least you should be able to read the readout screen all the time, and that is engine hours. It should say E and then an hour, a decimal, like 9.2, 100.2, whatever. And then when you start it and you engage the PTO, it has another hour readout, and that's how many hours are on the hydraulic system. So everything on this was blank. So they put a new one in, and I noticed when they put it in, went home, they put it in, it started jumping hours, and within a week, like, it had, you know, hundreds of hours on it, and I hadn't run it. So I'm just starting to, at this point, I'm just starting to laugh. I'm like, man, what in the heck? This thing's got like thing's possessed. Like, this thing a lemon? Like, am I gonna have to go to the point to like do some lemon law type stuff on this thing? So I call them back, and then these guys start him-hawing around like, well, you know, this is the second one. If we have to replace a third one, we start having to, you know, really start thinking about what we're doing, because then Stihl won't want to authorize a warranty claim on it because it's been repeated over and over and over. And I'm like, I don't care what you have to do. I want this thing to work. I'm bringing it over. I want you to fix it. So even the second place started kind of bucking on fixing some of the stuff. So I get over there, and actually at this point, I just dig the hour meter out of the bracket, unplug it, take it over there to show them, to validate what was going on. At this point, it had like 500 or 600 hours on it, because it just kept counting. Whether it was plugged up, turned on, or anything, it was just counting. Like, it was almost like it got energized, and it just never stopped. So this guy did his due diligence. He contacted Stihl, told them what the problem was, and they said, yeah, they're having a lot of issues with this hour meter. It could be bad. So he gave me a brand new one. I took it back myself, hooked it up myself, installed it myself, and I haven't had any issues with that since. So that's done. So I know that was a lot of talking, but I wanted to be 100% open and honest about, even though all these things are minor, these are issues I've had. I highly recommend talking with your dealer about warranty, buying extra warranty, making sure you come with warranty, and making sure that whoever you buy it from can fix and work on these things, and is willing to fix and work on these things. Because, you know, this thing came straight from the factory with an issue with the hour meter. It came straight from the factory with some type of issue with the oil leak. So let me backtrack a little bit too. When I found this second dealership and I told him about the oil problem, he said, you know what, let me just go ahead. It had a PT, or the hour meter issue, and I told him about the oil issue, and he looked it up. He's like, yeah, I see where they replace spark plugs, and they put it in the system and replaced the O2 sensor. He said, let me go over it from top to bottom. That was another thing that at least this guy was doing for me. And he found something underneath there that he said wasn't even hand tight. I don't know what it is. I don't want to say something and lie to you guys about what it was, but he said there was some kind of canister or something underneath there that wasn't even hand tight. He said he didn't really see a lot of oil residue. He said they had power washed it and cleaned it, but he hand tightened it, and it's good to go. It hasn't leaked since. So I just wanted to be clear and open with you guys, to tell you about all the issues that I had. As of right now, everything is running good. The new hour meter is running good. I have not detected any oil leaks. It's idling good. It's running at 100% good. So that's that. That's the issues that I've had. And like I said, all these seem minor and petty, but they all add up. And especially if you're using this machine for a business, or you've got to have it, I have to have it to do what I got to do, and it's sitting out of the shop and they're monkeying around with it, or it's got so many little things that go wrong with it that you constantly have to take it to the shop, that's a concern for somebody, and you don't want to have to deal with that. Like, I bought a brand new multi-$1,000 heavy duty commercial grade lawnmower with a top of the line EFI, Briggs engine on it. Like, I wouldn't think that I'd have to take it to the shop for years, and within 8 months I was taking it to the shop. So anyway, it's all been fixed. Everything's good to go. Stihl was good. They didn't have to pay a dime. They took care of everything. So there's that. That's that. Didn't have to worry about any of that stuff. So there you go. If you want to leave a comment about any of that stuff, you can, or if you had questions about any of that stuff, it's fine. And I appreciate all you guys listening and watching. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, like, comment, share, subscribe. I need subscribers. I enjoy making videos, but I need subscribers to continue to do this. I still have not been able to get to the point of the YouTube algorithm to monetize my channel, so I still haven't made a dime off this. Been doing it for quite a few years now. And I don't make a whole lot of good videos, but I do enjoy making some, and I appreciate all the subscribers that I can get. It's completely free. It doesn't cost you a dime. You guys can watch these videos for free, all because the creators take the time to do them. And that's enough jabbing. Appreciate it. See you guys on the next one. Have a good day, and see you later.